Hello, everybody, and welcome to Plugin School, bringing in your work in progress. My name's Karistina Lafae. I'm your host. My wonderful co-host is Tomas, and I'm sure he's already shared with you the link to the recordings of my past Plugin School sessions. Um, I'm usually about 2 weeks behind uploading the recordings, trying to get better about that. But we're close to catching up with that. I do use the dark theme on Sudowrite, the charcoal theme. So your screen probably looks pink, mine is black. That's fine. That's normal. Today we're talking about bringing in your unfinished manuscript, or it could also apply to a manuscript you finished but want to rewrite. The same steps would be helpful. In a couple of weeks or a little over a month or so, they are working on a way to completely import and populate your story Bible just by giving it your document, your manuscript, but that doesn't currently exist. So I fixed that. It's commonly advised not to learn Sudowrite using the unfinished story you joined Sudowrite in order to finish writing. There are good reasons for this that include things like allowing yourself room to learn how to use all the different features without worrying about how they'll affect your baby. But let's face it, most of us joined Sudowrite specifically for this purpose, and we were missing a workflow that would lead to successful outcomes for finishing your work in progress. So I created one. Um, but before I show you the 5-step workflow that I created with plugins, I have to share the inspiration um, for this series, and that is this powerhouse of a plugin, My Story in Reverse. It was created by Manon. It doesn't use a lot of credits, and it will take up to 90,000 words of manuscript, and it will create for you the genre, style, synopsis, list of characters, and an outline for your story just by highlighting the text of your manuscript. And I can demonstrate that with this story of mine. I was hoping to help somebody else out, but we'll do this. So to use this plugin, it looks at preceding and highlighted text. We're just going to have highlighted text.
Excuse me, Karistina.
Yes,
Are you sharing your screen?
I'm not
Is,
sharing my screen.
is
Oh,
anyone else?
that's embarrassing. Thank you. I've been reading this and thinking you are following along with me. Um, so this is how the screen should have looked when I started class. And that now we're here at My Story in Reverse, the plugin that inspired this whole series of plugins I wrote um, to help new people bring in their manuscripts. But we're going to demonstrate this one first because I do love this plugin. So My Story in Reverse. I've used this a lot, um, bringing in my stories. So this is an erotic serial. We're not going to go into all of the spicy stuff here, but this gives me the genre in 40 words, contemporary romance story with elements of drama and conflict, style in 40 words. That's not the best way to use the 40 words for the style field. That's okay. It created a synopsis for me, 800 words long, which seems to be a pretty good synopsis so far. Um, I would probably not use the questions at the end here, but and it gives some basic character sketches for the four main characters, as well as an outline of well, the first five of the six chapters I have in this story. And this is a total of 825 words it generated for me. 764 credits to come up with at least the a basic stuff for my story Bible that I could fill in. But it's not everything, and um, I wanted to come up with a way for people who didn't know exactly what they were doing with using plugins and stuff. So I started from the very, very basics with bring your own book one. I know BYOB is usually bring your own beer, but this is bring your own book. And this is the first plugin in the series. Generate Story Bible for your existing work. It uses very few credits because I was able to make it work using GPT-4o Mini, which is surprisingly smart for its cheap price. And as this is the first out of five, I explain here that this plugin was created for trial users and others who have a partially written story that they want to use Sudowrite to help them finish. And the first step is to generate Story Bible data from your existing prose. And I can tell you, not everybody uses Story Bible, but it is a lot easier to continue a story you've already started if you give it all the information about your story to work with. So that's what this workflow is here. Um, so if you haven't already brought the text of your document into Sudowrite, do so by copying it from your original text editor and pasting it into a document for a new project on Sudowrite. For our purposes, you should paste all chapters into a single document, but you can decide later if you want to create a separate document for each chapter later. Now, I wrote the description for each of these plugins very, very broken down so that completely new users can have a general idea of how to use the different parts of Sudowrite's functionality when bringing in their story. So you may not need all of the detail in these instructions, but it is all here just so that there are no questions about how to do the things for new users who may be on their trial period and haven't otherwise used Sudowrite yet. So this works by highlighting the full text of your story. So we're going to do this again. We're going to highlight this, and the instructions just say to click here to let the plugin do its thing. So it gave me genre, style. It appears not to have read all of the chapters here. Synopsis and an outline, which it did. Oh, it continued the outline further than I had written. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna follow the instructions anyways. These are the things we're gonna paste into the genre box. And I have to give credit also to Nicole Broussard, who wrote an awesome genre and style plugin that I used to inspire this. We're gonna say number, whoops, number of chapters. Why is it doing this to me? Oh, because I have too many words. That's why. We will just leave number of chapters out then. With emotional conflict. So that's the 40 words we have. That's close enough. Synopsis, we're going to take and we're going to copy here. And the description of the plugin does explain how that you need to copy from the left-hand column and then navigate here and fill out the story Bible. Although I think I worded it poorly because you're not actually pasting into the sidebar. You just use that to scroll. And outline. You'll notice it does create the proper outline format with the acts and the chapters. We're just going to stop with chapter 6 here in the outline because that is the last one that has been written. Actually, this goes along with chapter 6, so we'll do that here. And that's the outline. And it just tells you that the structure emphasizes character development while exploring multifaceted relationships filled with desire, loss, and personal discovery. It just tells you why it wrote everything the way it did. And I've instructed it to tell you happy writing when it's done generating everything for you. That way you know if it got hung up um, or cut off or not. If it doesn't say happy writing, it didn't work fully. So now we've got our genre, style, synopsis, and outline for our story. The instructions also mention you should be reading all of these things and editing them to make sure they actually match what has happened in your story so far, because the AI can go off the rails sometimes. With this particular story, when I was testing it on this, um, it was repeatedly misspelling Constantine with a K and without an E at the end. I know that's another way to spell Constantine, but that's not how he spells it. So you need to watch for silly things like that because you never know what the AI is going to do. So that was part 1. Then part 2 is extracting your characters from your existing work. Now, I separated these out because of the output limit for GPT 4o mini. It can only output up to 3,000 words at a time, and it usually doesn't use the full 3,000 words. So I wanted to make sure you got the most robust results with the fewest plugins possible in order to make this work. So I here that there is a way. Oh, I did not tell you how cheap it was to run that on our story. So it only costs 381 credits to generate those 4 parts of our story Bible: genre, style, synopsis, and outline, for about half the credits of my story in reverse. And the main difference from that is the different LLMs that we chose to use. GPT-4o Mini is a lot newer than whatever my story in reverse currently uses. Um, So, right, extracting characters. So you can import your characters without a plugin. You can do that by um, highlighting your text. I accidentally selected everything. Here we go. Nope. Going to characters, and you can do this thing where you paste your manuscript and click the import button, and it will populate your characters for you. I wrote this Part 2 plugin just to tell people that this is the next step in the process. And I made a plugin that will make things in the right format for extracting your characters so that you can import them and add your details more easily. It's not clicking in the right place. So we'll just see how it does with extracting the characters for us. As you see, it's in the same format that your character field um, would be with got the name, pronouns, groups, other names, personality. If you scroll down, then there's background. If you scroll down, then there's physical description. I might make it so that all these headers for the traits are capitalized so that they're easier to tell where the one ends and the next one begins. Dialogue style. And then these are my personal things that I also add, but those are the defaults. And this is just to make it easy to scroll down, click copy, go to characters, and then you can just import these. Although we're going to take that last bit out here. Normally I'd have you read all of these descriptions to make sure everything is proper. We're going to assume most of it is. Not sure why it decided not to capitalize the proper names here, but we're importing our characters. These are our four main characters. I could not figure out a way to get all of my minor characters too. Anybody has any brilliant ideas for that? I am open to hearing it after class ends. But here it go. It just takes the information from the plugin. It imported it and it populated all of the appropriate fields for each of our main four characters. It takes a lot to get back up to the top here. So that was part 2. Um, and it does have all of the instructions for how to use the plugin. It includes a link to the series of plugins so you can, or this is the next plugin in the series linked here, and then a link to all of the plugins so you can see them and add them all and use them in the proper order. Now, I wrote this one in 2 steps, to first make a list of the characters and then to evaluate the text and fill out the descriptions for the characters because it was having a little trouble doing it all with one step. This cost us, let's see, bring your own book to 847 credits. And then it cost 0 credits to do the import so that it put our character descriptions in the character part of Story Bible. So next, we want to extract the world building from our existing work. We're going to close this. So, Bring Your Own Book Part 3, Extract World Building from Your Existing Work, has the same preamble about what the plugin was created for, a link to the first plugin in case you just randomly found this one in the world building section, browsing the categories. It tells you what the 12 predefined world building categories are. Um, and it does mention filling out building is optional, especially if it's a contemporary story that isn't a mystery or thriller, but that it can be useful to keep track of your story's various settings and key events anyway. It is super helpful when you're writing sci-fi, fantasy, a mystery where you have to keep track of clues and suspects. Um, but some contemporary stories, you can completely do without it. It's just up to your preference. Um, and this gives step-by-step instructions the same way as the previous plugins. So we've got our text already highlighted. And now we're going to click on the third part to extract the world building from the existing work. It does end up looking a little weird, since this is a contemporary spicy romance, but we have settings, um, your meeting place, and it includes all of the fields that would appear as under settings. It's got the name, it's got the other names, sensory description, and location. So all of the different types of world building elements are going to be represented here if they exist in your story. And I think even if they don't exist, it will occasionally give you the whole thing. Culture. I wouldn't have a whole uh thing in world building for polyamorous relationships in modern society, but if I wanted to, why not? We have key events, there's a proposal, we have relationship dynamics, there's Ophelia and Alexander, there's Ophelia and Constantine. It doesn't mention Constantine and Juliet, but that is something that I would add. We've got technology and suggestions for further development. That's new. Um, I didn't see that when I was testing this earlier. Um, Unfortunately, unlike characters, we don't yet have a way to import world building information. So you have to do a really annoying thing where you'd be copying and pasting all of this into the section one at a time. But it does extract all the data for you so you don't have to type it all up yourself. So that does save a little bit of work on your part. Hopefully we'll get an import world building ability sometime soon, but until then, copy and paste is what we got. And it costs 571 credits to extract the world building from our existing work. There are other extract your world building plugins out there. This is the one that has it's part of a continuing workflow. The other extract your world building plugins are really good, and they use I think slightly more thorough models, a little more expensive. Um, but uh, if you're looking for this for the workflow, you can use this. And then part 4, I was reading chat this weekend, um, and there were some people who were bringing in their manuscripts, and they were having some trouble. At least one person was having an issue with their synopsis, and I saw today somebody was talking about their outline. And that's what parts 4 and 5 of this workflow will help you with. This is extend the synopsis from your existing work, because what we did in part 1 is we extracted and compiled the synopsis from what you've already written, but then you still have to get to the end of your story. And only you know how much more there is um, to this story than what you've already written. So what it's going to look at, I'm going to scroll down through this. It's going to look at your genre, synopsis, characters, world building. It has user input and highlighted text. So highlighted text, does it use highlighted text? I'm not sure if it does or not. Let's see. Nope, it doesn't actually use highlighted text. I just have to erase that because it was part of my template and I forgot to remove it. So you don't need to highlight anything. Um, what you're going to do is you just go to your story and you click on the extend your synopsis from your existing work. And this little window is going to pop up and it says, describe how the rest of your story goes, including the ending. And where it goes from here is that, um, let's see, it doesn't have to be how the actual story goes. Ophelia and Constantine. I can't type his name. Go through some challenges with their respective relationships, but in the end, Ophelia and Alexander become couple friends with Constantine and Juliet. No, that's not how you type Juliet. And the four of them live happily ever after together. So you can get far more detailed than this. If you know exactly how you want your story to go and it's going to take you 1,000 words to describe how that happens, go ahead and type 1,000 words. It will condense it into something more synopsis sized. And we're going to click the go button here. Too many words, select. I forgot I didn't. Okay, let's try this again. Um, it has the default limit for, oh no, I should have saved all of that. Both marriages go through some conflict, but eventually Ophelia and Alexander become couple friends with Constantine and Juliet, allowing Ophelia and Constantine to get back together as a budding relationship between Alexander and Juliet begins to bloom happily ever after. That is a very simplified explanation of how I want the rest of this story to go. Da, da, da. Okay, this was supposed to start after the end of the existing synopsis. I'm not sure if it really did that or not, but it gave us 449 words for 113 credits. And the idea is just to go here, go to the end of your existing synopsis, and copy and paste what you got from the plugin, making sure to edit it and read through it to make sure it doesn't repeat itself. You could probably delete that, and this would make a good rest of the story. So we just took the user input we gave it about how we want the story to end, and it came up with the rest of the synopsis for us. This isn't the most detailed synopsis it could have created, but it's something that if you didn't want to worry about that, you could just go ahead and continue to the last step here, which is bring your own book 5. Extend the outline for your existing work. Now, if you've already done all the other stuff and you're looking for ways just to extend your synopsis and your outline in the same style and format as the original synopsis and outline, you can use these plugins without the first 3, and that's totally cool too. And this one will now it before it was giving me the beginning of the outline from step number 1, and hopefully it won't do that again because I edited it. That is hard to say, edited it. It does not require any highlighted text, so we're just gonna click on it, and excellent. Okay, so it repeated the chapter 6 from the outline, but then it goes on the chapters. You know what? We'll just delete the duplicate chapter 6. We're going to copy that. We're going to go to our outline. We're going to go underneath chapter 6, paste it, then go back, and since we know it duplicated chapter 6, we're going to get rid of that. So chapter 7, shift focus to Alexander and Juliet's growing friendship, shared experiences. Chapter 8, Ophelia confronts her feelings directly after discovering more about Juliet through Alexander. Heartfelt conversation. We got a couple of awkward formatting issues here, and I would definitely rewrite these chapter summaries in the outline, but it does give me a way to move forward from where I left the text off. And if I liked it, I could just expand on these either myself or using additional plugins that work on making your outline better, making your chapter beats, something like that. But after we ran that, we now have a full outline, and we could move forward, and we could start writing our story with a full story Bible. And we could use chapter generator, we could use write, guided write, or we could use plugins like the Mega Write series or other writing plugins that will give you prose. And this is where I tell people congratulations, because now You've done a bunch of tedious things involved with bringing your story in so that you can use all the tools you have at your disposal within Sudowrite. Um, and you probably would want to edit what you got from the outline here, which could be um, a lot easier to do if you more thoroughly edited your expanded synopsis from step 4. Um, because if the synopsis is more detailed, your outline will be more detailed. Um, that's why this is a step-by-step process, because each one builds on the next, and then you're ready to go. Um, however you like to write using Sudowrite, which hopefully you also learned through other classes or trial and error and stuff like that, you could start writing from the very next chapter of your story. And yeah, so this did not take me nearly as long to go through as I originally anticipated. But if you want, you can always find these plugins by just searching for BYOB. And if anybody ever um, decides to take my acronym and write other BYOB plugins, if you want to find mine specifically, you can add the little fairy in front of it. Um, there's a fairy, then a space, then the BYOB. But other people are also welcome to um, offer variations on these plugins for their own purposes. And yeah, I think think this will help a lot of people because I know it's going to help me with some of my other stories that don't yet have story Bibles because I don't have enough information about them. I didn't write as much before I brought them into Sudowrite. So now I'm going to stop the recording and I am going to take some questions. So thank you for coming. Um, this was Plugin School. We have these every week at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Next week's is not yet on the Luma calendar because I haven't picked my topics for August, but I will be getting that on the calendar as soon as I can. Um, if you have suggestions for my my August classes, things you'd like to see, hit me up in Discord and I will see what I can make happen. Thanks for coming, and I hope to see you next time.